Good evening. We'd like to call to order our Rutherford County School Board meeting for September 24th. Just like to recognize the school systems being one of the greatest school systems in the state of Tennessee. So if you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Sharp will be leading us. Okay, for a moment of silence tonight, I'd like for us to remember Kathleen Woodley, Walter Hill teacher. Also keep in mind Joyce Michaels. And always, let's keep our Rutherford County schools and their employees, contractors, and most of all these teachers and students that are here on the front line every day doing their job. So if you would, please join me in a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Number 4, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Estes, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Approval of consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Let's, tonight, if you don't mind, let's raise our hands when we make a motion. And that way it'll be more clear who's making a motion, who's seconding it, and maybe let's make our meeting go a little faster. Thank you. All right. Number 5, we already got through that. This is number 6. 7 visitors. Okay, our visitors tonight, we have Michael Harris.
Michael Harris, 5235 Sledge Road, Christiana, Tennessee. You all know who I am by now, and I guess I'll be here quite often. In reference to the Tan Oak property, I finally got a call back from Lisa Moore last night. However, she did decline to answer a couple of things. I emailed you guys, every one of you board members. I emailed you all the violations on that property that the state had come up with, TDEC. Had I not blown y'all in, ain't no telling what y'all be doing. Now, when I say y'all, I mean the contractor. But Mr. Lee and Rutherford County School Board's name is on the permit through TDEC. So, in essence, it comes back to here. One of the questions I asked Ms. Moore last night was, were you all aware of all the violations on that property? She declined to answer. I know what the answer was, no, until I sent it to y'all. Why do you have somebody that continues to lie to us as the public? We're the ones paying for it. Our tax dollars is building that school, but yet you got somebody in charge named Mr. Lee who is continually lying to us about everything that's going on that property. We don't know what to believe. Everything that he has told me has been a lie so far. One of my biggest questions is, why the hurry? I have an email from one of the, it's called Bard, Cawthorn and Associates, who Mr. Lee hired to do the permit, I guess, process through TDEC. I'd like to read it to you, just a portion of it. Rutherford County Schools is at a critical point to move forward for any chance to open August of 2021. Now, this was all the way back in July 24th of this year. Why such a big hurry to get this school project up and running that we have to lie to TDEC, we have to cheat the public? It makes you wonder what else is going on I don't know if any of y'all are developers, but it seems to me like somebody's hands is in the pockets of the developers to get this school up and running. I already know that the other 300 acres that surrounds the school property is already under contract. They're going to build houses on it. Imagine that. It's just a lot of stuff that's been going on with this property that the reason I'm bringing it to light is because you got another school getting ready to be built by the Matthews Farm out in Walter Hill. So I'm hoping those people, those neighbors up there are watching what I'm going through, and that they keep an eye on y'all. I'd like to know why y'all are doing it. It's real simple. We were the last, I live directly across the street. We were the last to know about it. And then to have all these violations, and, you know, putting silt in my creek and all this stuff, it stinks. I'd rather have a landfill across the street. It'd probably smell better.
Our next visitor, Natalie King.
Good evening. My name is Natalie King. I'm a Rutherford County resident, born and raised. I'm also a mother. I've got 3 boys in the Rutherford County school system. I came here this evening to ask the board to discuss a pathway to lift the mandate for masks for students. What criteria needs to be met in order for us to start moving in that direction? I know this is new to everybody, so I just really want to open the floor to discuss what needs to happen, XYZ, in order to start moving in that direction. I asked the board to put the medical decisions for students back in the hands of parents and guardian, allow those that want to keep wearing masks the freedom to do that, but allow those of us that wish to not also the same freedom. I thank all of you for your hard work.
Thank you. Next visitor, Barbara Dillman.
My name is Barbara Dillman, 1932 Sterling Street, and I would like to pray for the board and the school system. Father, we need you. Lord, we need you. Jesus, we need you. We need you. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Dillman. All right, moving on to number 8, recognition.
All right, we have the pleasure to recognize an Eagleville senior honor student, Mr. Garrett Hamby, who is going to be, who is a member of the State Board of Education, a student member of the State Board of Education. He's going to be pinned tonight. I think we have Mr. Gordon Ferguson, who's also the president of St. Thomas Rutherford, and he's also our district state board representative. If they would come on up, and we'll get him pinned.
Thank you. I think we're on here. I'm Nathan James. I'm the Director of Legislative and External Affairs for the State Board of Education, and it is a real pleasure to appear here before you tonight. The law that created the State Board of Education in its modern iteration says that each of the 9 congressional districts will be represented by 1 person, and that also there is authorization for an upcoming senior of superlative standing to be nominated by each local board of education, from which the governor may select 1 for the state. I started work with the state board in 2015, and during that period of time we've only had 3, including Aaron here. And so it's an extraordinary honor both for the district and for him. He is one of only 3 student State Board of Education members in the entire nation that has voting power His authority is the same as any other member of the State Board of Education, and that means he sits in decision on some very important things, from charter schools and the BEP formula, all along to educator license discipline and everything in between. So it's a pretty extraordinary experience, and it is crucial and critical to our state to have the student's voice in there. And I'd like to introduce Gordon Ferguson, our member for this district.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to pin our newest member of the State Board of Education. First of all, I would like to just thank each of you for your service to the Rutherford County school system. I'm not sure who's having the most fun in the COVID-19 days, either in healthcare or in education. But we know that we've got challenges that we're dealing with, and we are working together as we navigate these new times. As Nathan said, we have got the privilege of serving on the State Board of Education. I represent District 4 and have been doing that for the past few years. And I can tell you it's really interesting as we work through different situations confronting our state and education. But I serve alongside my fellow board members, and I can tell you we are committed to doing what we can to improve our education system, keeping the students at the forefront of our discussions and our decisions. We may not always make the right decisions, but I can tell you our desire is that we're representing our districts well in this capacity. I can't think of too many other honors that can be given to a student than serving on the State Board of Education. Our student representative has all the voting powers as the other members of the board, and I've already had the pleasure of serving with Garen on a called school board meeting just within the last week, and Garen, you did well. So it's my pleasure to now pin Garen, and I'm going to try and do this without causing any injury or harm, but certainly as a representative of Eagleville High School and Rutherford County Schools, Garen, congratulations, and I'm going to shake your hand. We may be breaking the rules, but thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Garen Hamby. I'm from Eagleville High School, and I'm very excited to be here today. It's definitely a great honor for me, and I'm very, very excited to serve this year. I hope to do the best I can for everyone here today, not only for our county and our district, but also for the state as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Mr. Hamby. I know you'll represent us well. All right, move on to number 9, virtual school presentation.
Before you get started, Dr. Subhakan, I'd like to thank our instructional department. We started out a couple of years ago when I came on board looking at adding a virtual school. It's not something that's unique. It's something that's been lacking for a long time, and I appreciate the hard work that they did. And I think we've got a great principal of our virtual school. And Dr. Subhakan, if you want to go over and give us a little overview of the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. I just want to give the board members a quick update on the school. First, the enrollment. We currently have 102 full-time students. You can see the breakdown of the grades on the handout that is being presented also on the screen. And we serve 34 concurrent students, and those are students in our high schools, area high schools, that are wishing to take one part-time class. The admission process to the school for those 102 students, we had a little over 400 applicants. We asked every student to fill out an application as well as turn in transcripts so we could go over the grades. We didn't have necessarily a GPA that was a requirement, but we did want to make sure that all students could operate in a rigorous online environment, which was very important. Last, we followed up with a phone interview so we could make sure that the parents and the students were both on the same page and that both were equally committed to being at home as a caretaker and engaging in the classwork every day. We're using the Pearson Connexus platform. Pearson Connexus has been operating virtual schools for a little over 15 years. They've got hundreds of courses that we are able to choose from. The individual students have dashboards with each course laid out, so from there they can access their teacher's contact information, they can get to their live lessons, they see a daily rundown of all of their assignments, and then the coursework is laid out through there. All of the teachers have a Tennessee State teaching license, and then you'll see the breakdown of how the courses are laid out. We've got the Tennessee Standard courses. Students work independently and sequentially. They're guided by the teacher feedback and those live lessons. We do have several advanced courses, including honors, gifted and talented, and AP courses. And then we have 6 different pathways that are being offered this year: business, technology, fine arts, humanities, math, science, and then the AP pathway. We are partnering with Motlow State Community College and currently have 13 students that will take dual enrollment courses this school year. And then last but not least, we want to submit a proposal to the board for the next board meeting in October. We asked the students, we kind of put that back in their court to see if we could do a student competition for the mascot. We had 37 student entries, and the voting committee for the school decided on one, which would be the Rutherford County Virtual Trailblazers. That was a submission by a student of ours, Brendan Hart. He's a 10th grader, and he is here to speak tonight. And kind of let you all know why he chose that. And then his mother, Miss Hart, is going to give you kind of a parent perspective of the virtual school. Thank you, Brandon.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, my name is Brendan Hart. This is the inaugural year for Rutherford County Virtual School. So I went ahead and said, I think we should be the Trailblazers. I believe the school is always on the hunt for a greater expedition and trailblazing a new and greater opportunity for the youth to help make the world a bigger and better place to be. I believe each generation is going to set an example for the youth to help grow the school and exceed the boundary for what we are capable of doing.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hart, and I just want to thank you all and the staff for the opportunity of this virtual school. Little brief history, my son was in a smaller private school for years, ever since he was a baby. Due to health reasons, we had to pull him during the middle of a school year, and I thus began our homeschool journey. That was extremely stressful, and this program, I came across this program, and it was an answer, literally an answer to prayer. I would lay awake at night thinking, am I hitting all the requirements for him? Is he getting what he needs? And this program helped in so many ways, because I no longer have to worry about that due to the staff and the teachers. And I just know that my student learns so much better from the others, from the teachers that he's provided. And this program has just filled so much of that. The reading, the writing in particular, and the math were my biggest concerns. And I know he's been an AB student, and he wants to succeed. And so this program has given him the opportunity and the access to the staff and the teachers. The other big part of this is the socialization that this program offers, not just with other students, but local students. That's huge. It's so big, and the school does a great job bringing those students together on a lot of levels. And the academics alone, everything that's offered, he was genuinely excited about it. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity. It's blessed our family in so many ways. So thank you all.
Does anyone have any questions for me?
You want to tell them where you're housed, where you're located?
We are located in the John Coleman Annex, which is around the backside of the new John Coleman Elementary.
And Mr. Spurlock, if I can, to kind of give the board a idea of where we're looking at going with our virtual school. So as Dr. Subicon mentioned, we currently have about 400 we had 400 applicants and we only have 102 students. To give you an idea of where we started with this, we actually applied for several with the State Department, K-12, 6-12. We're only approved 9-12, I believe 3 days before we opened. We appealed and were able to add 6-12. So where that helps us now is we realize that ultimately the goal, of course, is to get kids back in school. But we're going to have a portion of our population, unfortunately my son right now would fall in that, who would need a virtual setting for some type of reason. And some students excel there. But we don't have the capacity with 100 enrollment to do that. And so what we are going to be moving forward, hopefully even begin January, is to start a cohort of kids. And so we are looking at housing our own Rutherford County teachers at the John Coleman Annex, several of them potentially starting in 6th through 12th grade. You would potentially have a 6th through 8th grade English teacher, a 6th through 8th grade math, science, social studies. Same thing for 9 through 12. We'd have to do some other things with our vendor to be able to get some of those courses we need for CTE, foreign language, those type of things. But that would hopefully bring our capacity to somewhere to add about an extra 175 students. And I know that, one, that serves a need of our county and also making sure that we're doing what's best for our kids. But even from a financial standpoint, just to hit on that, we received numbers today from another virtual school who is approved to operate in the entire state of Tennessee. And so they have 199 of our students. 53 of them would not be able to attend our virtual school because it's not approved K-5. But for the other 146 kids, to put that in perspective, if we had those kids enrolled in our virtual school, one, at any moment, these students, of course, could become enrolled in our public schools that we need in a traditional setting. But then from an also financial standpoint, that $759,000 that is going to another district that very well could be going to ours. So just to kind of bring that up, we are looking to grow. We want to make sure we started off with the right capacity, but ultimately we want this run by our Rutherford County school principals with our Rutherford County school teachers using our Rutherford County curriculum.
Now, the reason why we're able to do this second semester, because we still fall under the distance learning, and and what we'll be working on between now and to the end of the year is adding on the additional grades. But we will be able to do it this year for that reason, and continue on with that. That's a lot of money, $750,000. That's Robertson County. I don't mind calling them out, okay? We want them back. We think we can do a better job, but we all got to have the opportunity to do so when we add these additional grades.
Right. And connected to that, we also had another district that borders us to the north when we announced our virtual school, who they are approved to take students outside of another district. We are not. And their administration was actively involved on our Rutherford County Facebook saying, if you're not accepted into the Rutherford County Virtual School because of space, you may come to our district. So we are competing for students that we believe.
Let's just go ahead and call them out, Metro Davidson County, right?
I was trying to be nice.
Just be honest.
Anything else on virtual?
Is that it? Thank you. Dr. Subicon, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay?
All right, number 10.
All right, this is great news. Number 10, naming the Riverdale High School Stadium. Riverdale High School would like to name the Riverdale High School football stadium Phil Watts Tomahawk Stadium after Mr. Phil Watts, who was the coach at Riverdale for the Riverdale Warriors, as they know him as Coach Watts. And he was the first head coach at Riverdale High School when it opened in 1972. He coached from the years 1972 to 1983, had a record of 84 wins, 36 losses, and 2 ties, and 8 straight postseason appearances. Former football players from this era continue to support Riverdale program in his honor. I think this speaks volume of the influence that Coach Watts had on these former Riverdale High School and Riverdale County students. Motion to approve the naming of the Riverdale High School Stadium, Phil Watts Tomahawk Stadium, after Coach Phil Watts. Coach here?
Right, do I have a motion?
Motion. Motion to approve, please.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Ms. Blair, is Coach here? Okay, is anyone like to come up and speak on any former players or people that know Coach Watts? I can speak on it, I've known him for a long time, but Ms. Blair, you want to come up and speak on it? I mean, just impromptu, tell us, we know how Coach was.
Good evening, Board. I do not mind coming up and speaking about Coach Watts, even though I was only with Coach Watts briefly. I'm Tamara Blair. I'm the principal of Riverdale High School, but I'm also a graduate of Riverdale High School. I graduated there in 1987, and so Coach Watts was our football coach my freshman year, and which was a big deal in those days because there were only two high schools in Murfreesboro at that time, Riverdale and Oakland, and so it was that football game, as most of our schools even today, was a big deal in just on Friday nights. So I do remember him, and when this was brought to me, as soon as I was hired by Coach Ricky Field, who has been at Riverdale High School for a number of years, 30-something years, I do believe, and he brought that to me, and I couldn't think of a reason why that we would not be able to do this. I think it is a great honor that the football players and people of Rutherford County still talk to Coach Field about Coach Watts, and for him to bring him up, I just think it's a great honor. I think as educators, we know that it's not the highest paying job that sometimes that people get, even though we are very pleased with what we do make. I'm just saying that we are there to influence children. I guess most people know that that's what we're there to do. And so for a coach and an educator to influence people that they're thinking about you 40 years later, I think that says a lot. So I think that's an honor. And I think we should. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, number 11.
Our this Rutherford County Schools 2020-21 contract addendum, uncovered route payment, found on tab 2. The Transportation Department is requesting to add an addendum to the bus contract to allow deadhead miles related to recent events and drivers opting out due to health or other reasons. The miles serve as an incentive to encourage drivers to pick up uncovered routes that would otherwise go without a bus. Currently, after following all protocols for coverage, but still needing to cover routes with existing staff, the Assistant Superintendent of Engineering and Instruction and the Director of Transportation recommend paying deadhead miles. No additional funds will be needed since the budget for the routes is sufficient to include the increased mileage payments. Mr. Everett, could you come up and kind of go over the process that y'all have gone through in trying to find someone to cover these routes?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
When the board approved our priority list back in July, that's our mechanism to award new contracts or routes that are turned in. Once we used that list for priority 1 and priority 2, we still had 4 routes available up in Laverne, all servicing Laverne schools. The impact to this is about 600 students without transportation. So Mr. Lee and I were looking for a solution that stayed within budget, stayed within our current contractor model, and provided those students service to school. So that's why the addendum is here before you.
All right. Motion to approve the contract amendment to allow the payment of deadhead mileage.
All right, do I have a motion? All right, Ms. Bratton, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Everett.
All right, number 12.
All right, number 12, U.S. Department of Justice grant for Aapex radios. Rutherford County Schools has been awarded a grant by the U.S. Department of Justice to use funds to purchase the Motorola Aapex trunking handheld radios for schools and mobile units for buses. The county is providing each school with a base radio and one handheld radio. This grant will be used to outfit the remaining members of each school's crisis response team, the director of schools, the assistant superintendent of engineering and construction, public information officer, and the public information officer with radios. These radios have the ability to communicate across the county and also the ability to speak directly with the police, the fire, and EMS. Additional backup mobile radios will be provided for buses. Transportation has already been outfitted as of July the 20th. This grant runs for 3 calendar years and requires 25% county participation. Now, I'd like for Mr. Boder, if he would, address that 25% county participation.
Sir, we're gonna, for this fiscal year, we'll match with the radios that are already purchased on the county side. And of course, we'll have some upcoming communication in the budget in the next couple of years. So this will be very similar to what you'll see later with the Safe School grant that you'll be voting on tonight. Since the county already expends quite a bit of money with SROs, that we use that for the local funds.
So in other words, we can use what they spent on the county side for this year. That's right. All right, motion to approve the U.S. Department of Justice grant for $225,001 for the Motorola Aapex radios.
Do we have any questions? All right. Do I have a motion? I think Ms. Sharp. All right, do I have a second? Ms. Maxwell? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, number 14.
All right, number 13, renewal of all stellar therapy services for Medicaid reimbursement contract found on tab 3. Health Services requesting to renew the existing contract with Stellar Therapy Services for Medicaid claims processing and reimbursement. Our initial contract with Stellar Services began on April of 2018, and since the Rutherford County Schools has been paid $25,722.06 after fees for nursing services provided for eligible students. We have been able to negotiate a lower price fee that's dropped 30% to 20% for the next year. Motion to approve Stellar Therapy Service Contract for Medicaid claims, processing, and reimbursement.
Any question by the board? Ms. Bratton, you have a question? Motion approved. All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Johnson? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 14.
ESL After-School Tutoring Service found on tab 4. The ESL department will provide after-school tutoring services to be held remotely and or at the ESL Center, funded completely out of Title III funds. The rate of compensation will be $22.18 an hour and not to exceed $10,000. Motion to approve the Rutherford County Schools Title III Fund after-school tutoring.
Any questions? Move to approve. Ms. Sharp. All right, do I have a second? Ms. Maxwell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 15.
All right, number 15 is Imagine Learning, found on tab 5. The ESL department is requesting to purchase Imagine Learning, an online personalized learning system developed to help students to acquire, develop, and strengthen the language skills necessary to fully participate in academic settings and prepare for college and career readiness. The total cost of Imagine Learning for the 2020-2021 school year is $30,100 and will be funded through Title III funds. Motion to approve the purchase of Imagine Learning for $30,100 through Title III funds for the 2020-2021 school year.
Any questions? Do I have a motion? Ms. Bratton, do I have a second? Second. Mr. Estes, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 16.
All right, number 16, curriculum and instruction, found on tab 6. The Curriculum and Instruction Department approved at the June 18th school board meeting to allocate approximately $200,000 of Title II funds for curriculum leads for the 2020-21 school year. The purpose of this curriculum leads is to develop an instructional capacity of teachers within the district and to support the PLC process. The proposed allocation would support year 2 of the curriculum lead initiative. Focus areas for the year 2 will include professional learning centered on blended in-person and virtual instruction, continued focus on standards-based instruction, leadership development, and solidification of Tier 1 instruction at all levels. Presented for approval are the names of the curriculum leads. Each school received a predetermined number of allocations based on the grade band school structure. Curriculum leads will receive $80 per session for up to 10 sessions. Motion to approve curriculum lead allocations as presented, and you can see the attached list on tab 6.
Any questions? All right, do I have a motion? Mr. Estes, do I have a second? Oh, Ms. Bratton? All right, all in favor say aye.
No.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 17.
All right, voluntary pre-K and Head Start for information only. Voluntary pre-K and Head Start are entering into a partnership with up to 60 families who are being identified as eligible based on Head Start eligibility requirements. This partnership will include, but not be limited to, educational supports, health screeners, mental health supports for trauma-based behaviors, professional development, opportunities for voluntary pre-K teachers and assistants, family support services for families identified in the partnership slots, and other support services. A rate of $875 per eligible enrolled slot will be paid to Rutherford County Schools in monthly payments over the course of 9 months. Payment amount will depend on the number of slots filled, not to exceed 60. Any questions on that partnership?
Mr. Young, are they going to have a physical location?
No, they will come into our building
They
and
go
just
into
work
the
with our
school.
kids.
They're going to-
Right, yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Number 18.
Professional construction and design-related services. In the past, engineering construction has recommended professional services firms based on jobs for certain projects. We would like to begin the process yearly, bringing these firms back to each of you for information and approval. Most of these firms have been working with Rutherford County Schools for many years and have always done an excellent job. However, from time to time, we have a need of more than one firm for a particular area, and would also like to recommend a couple in that category as well. So the following firms are recommended for approval: Geotechnical Investigation and Construction and Material Testing, ECS Southeast LLP, and Collier Engineering. Surveying, Collier Engineering, Bird Surveying, Brown Surveying, Huddleston Steel, SEC Inc. Structural Steel Testing, Billy Melton. Civil Design, Barge, Cawthon and Associates, SEC Inc., Huddleston Steel. Architectural Design Services, Binkley Garcia and Architecture Interior Design. HVAC Design, Harpeth Park Engineering, IC Thomason, and Maynard Select. Motion to approve the professional services providers listed.
Any questions? All right, do I have a motion? All right, Ms. Moore, do I have a second? Ms. Maxwell? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, Part 2.
All right, Siegel High School, Principal Larry Creasy is requesting CTE department be allowed to purchase and place a 12 by 32 metal shed behind the greenhouse at the cost of $5,529.20. This will be at the no cost of the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and finds it acceptable. Motion to approve Siegel High's request for the CTE purchase a shed at no cost to the board.
Any questions? All right. Do I have a motion? Ms. Bratton? Second. Ms. Johnson? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 3.
All right, number 3, Buchanan Elementary. Principal Ashley Witt is requested to partner with Murfreesboro First United Methodist Church to provide a free little pantry service container. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and location and find it acceptable. This venture will be at no cost to the board. Motion to approve Buchanan Elementary request to partner with Murfreesboro First United Methodist Church for Little Pantry project at no cost to the board.
Do we have any questions? All right, do I have a motion? Ms. Maxwell? Have a second. Ms. Moore? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 19.
All right, financial matters found on tab A. Number 1, Fund 141 GPS budget amendment for the fiscal year 2020-2021 Safe School Grant. To budget for the revenue and expenditures of the fiscal year 2020-2021 Safe Schools Grant. This grant application was approved by the school board on September 30th of 2020 at the 2020 board meeting, or September 3rd, 2020 board meeting, and then awarded by the State Department of Education the following the school board approval. And this is the motion to approve the budget amendment for the fiscal year 2020-2021 Safe School Grant that was approved by the Rutherford County School Board and the State Department of Education.
Any questions? Do I have a motion? Mr. Estes? Do I have a second? Ms. Johnson? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 2.
All right, number 2, resolution to authorize an advance of funds in the amount of $1,500,000 from the general purpose school fund to the school centralized cafeteria fund for cash flow purposes.
All right.
Anything you want to add on that, Mr. Beaudry?
Yes, sir. We had touched on this at the last meeting, of a potential need for some additional, like a cash advance for cash flow purposes in the cafeteria fund until our USDA reimbursements pick up from the seamless summer option that the waiver that we received this last month. The county commission has approved that request. Since this is board funds, I just need a formal motion from this board to authorize that as well. And that's what this is. To give you an overview of the cash situation in the cafeteria fund, I provided you with this right here. This is a cash flow analysis of the cafeteria fund as we stand right now. On the top of this, I'll just very briefly go over this. You see, this would be an estimate of cash disbursements and receipts for the 143 Central Cafeteria Fund for this current fiscal year. As you see in the darker orange blocks, that's actual cash receipts, and then the darker orange in the cash payments line, that's actual cash disbursements of that fund. And then the lighter colored orange blocks are estimates based on prior years. As you can see, in September, the reason for the need for this transfer was in September, we had cash receipts of $351,982. That's up towards the top column. This time, or in September of last year, we had over 1.8 mil of cash receipts, so you could see the significant drop. That's before we got the waiver for the Seamless Summer program where all the children eat at no cost. So we expect to see revenue from that pick up to about 1.6 mil in cash receipts. Beginning in November, my hope was that that payment would start coming in better in October, but in case we had a delay in the USDA reimbursement, I wanted to make sure we had plenty of cash on hand to make payrolls and also to pay our vendors. And I believe we're okay with that right now. This is a separate $1.5 million cash advance than what we had in August, the beginning of August. We had, the commission and this board approved a $1.5 million permanent transfer of funds to the cafeteria for cash flow. This is just a cash advance that once the USDA money comes in, we would then reimburse the general purpose school fund for this amount.
Where are we on that grant? Have we started writing that already for that reimbursement?
The reimbursement for FEMA?
Yeah.
It'll be, yes, sir, we're also going to get that on a separate thing. I'll be bringing with that too. It's, we are putting in for any unreimbursed cost that's dealing with COVID that's covered by the FEMA disaster grant. My hope is to have the first request to FEMA within the next 2 weeks. And that would be for uncovered costs dealing with the COVID issue from March forward to August 31st. And then at that point, I would do another reimbursement for September, October, and then another one for November, December, before that window closed, if it does.
The seamless feeding program ends in December, right?
The seamless summer program, it ends right now in December, but currently Congress is looking at extending that through the school year. And of course, that would be up to Congress and the President to approve that, but that would allow us to continue doing no-cost meals to the students through the end of the school year. But right now, as it stands, it's December 31st.
We got something coming up in November. Let's just play devil's advocate here. What do we do if it's not extended?
We need to try as our best to keep our students in school.
Gotcha.
Because obviously, when you have distance learners, even though we have a plan to serve distance learners, if you have the child actually there and they're right down the hallway from the cafeteria, well, when they're hungry, they can come right down the hallway and get food. So the key would be to obviously try to keep our children in school as much as possible.
We got 2 high school principals here. Are we doing a la carte now? Are we doing any a la carte? Sales? No? Do you know if we're doing any other high schools, Mr. Bodery?
Yes, sir, we do have some, but it's limited. And because of the precautions with, the recommendations for CDC, we have that scaled back. So obviously the seamless summer is really important.
Mr. Spurlock, if I may, do you have an estimate of how many of the distance learners that we are feeding that still come to the school to pick up lunches?
Question.
That's an excellent question, and I can get you that information.
Okay, because I know that during the summer we got those and we kind of watched those and everything, but just out of curiosity, how many? So people can get some kind of idea, even though these children aren't in school, we're still feeding a large number of students.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Moore, second. Ms. Maxwell, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, number 3.
All right, number 3, we're going to need a nomination and a motion to recommend someone from the Rutherford County School Board to serve as a member of the Rutherford County Audit Committee.
All right, do we have any nominations?
Everyone speak up at once.
It's not that bad. I've been on that committee.
It's really not bad.
Oh, I think we have a taker. I'll second the nomination.
All right. Any other nominations? All right. Motion to approve Ms. Maxwell as our audit committee member. Got a first and a second, Ms. Bratton, and who was the second? Ms. Moore? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Maxwell. All right. Moving to number 20.
All right, number 20 is the district goals for the director of schools for 2021. I'm going to kind of go with, right at this moment, we do know that we've got a little over 19,000. What's the number on our distance learners as of today?
19,559.
Okay. And then the rest of them are in school. In terms of accountability, we don't know where that's going. We've got to go under the assumption that it will take place, and with the hope that perhaps maybe we will be held harmless, but I'm not sure that that will happen. But anyway, goal number 1 is Rutherford County Schools will develop a middle college program within the school district. We have been in conversation with Motlow last spring before the COVID came to pass. We're still working with them. Middle college program would provide an opportunity for your juniors and your seniors to go to, actually we would have been talking to them about the campus, coming to the campus. We have to work those logistics out and go through a cohort that would actually go through and go through and take classes. And we've even discussed working with them in terms of teachers that they would hire out of our own system and share in the amount of paying the salary. To develop an opportunity for our kids to graduate and be recognized in a cohort as receiving their associate's degree. Now, when we looked at this thing, we wanted to make sure we were opening it up. If it comes to fruition, we want to make sure we were opening it up for every student that meet that application process and that met the profile that we're looking for. Right now, we have a lot of different schools that are having kids graduate with a associate's degree, but there's no MOU with that institution. We have, to my knowledge, we don't have any. I think Oakland's one of them that has it with MTSU. Is that correct? But do you have an MOU with MTSU? With Motlow, you have an MOU with them. So I stand corrected. So we want to develop this where it's a larger cohort that addresses every student in our system. Go to Rutherford County schools. We've heard on this previously this month. We'll recruit, retain, and grow effective teachers. Our goal will be to maintain our retention rate of 90% or better. Dr. Anthony, I think we were at 91 this past year. Is that right? And when we looked at the top 10 schools, top largest school systems, Williamson, Davidson, Hamilton, we were at top as far as that is concerned. And you went through a variety of different things that we're doing in order to retain them. Goal number 3, Rutherford County Schools will prepare our graduates in college and career readiness by increasing our ready-to-graduate percentage from 48.1% to 50% or greater, while maintaining 95% graduation rate. Ready to graduate are determined by, number 1, the 21 on the ACT, or they can get their early post-secondary opportunities, which can include dual enrollment, dual credit. It can include industry certifications, which we were increasing tremendously throughout our system. It can include a CLEP test. Am I leaving anything off? And it can also include, if they do it, an ASVAB test. I don't know if we've had any do the ASVAB. Very rare that we have that. So that's what we want to do. We want to improve the career and college and career readiness. Goal number 4, Rutherford County schools will seek to provide more CTE programs throughout our county that are aligned or which are aligned with industry certifications. This past several years, we've added an aviation program. We've added, I think, several health service programs. We've added this year a MEP program at both Laverne and Smyrna. And we added something at Oakland. What was it? Health? Biomedical. Have y'all signed an MOU yet with anyone? We're in the process. So we want to continue to do that. Ms. Pilgrim, you want to speak on that a little bit? What we've been doing and what we're planning on doing?
Good evening. Every year we look at our CTE programs of study and we look at what our industry needs and wants are, and we line those up with our post-secondary partners. And so it truly is a uncommon partnership with all of those areas to make it, we want our students when they graduate to be successful. And what we have seen over the past is that if we have multiple exit and entry points for our students, that helps make them be the most successful. And so our goal is to definitely get as many industry certifications as possible for our students, and in as many of our CTE programs of study that we have, and then to also have the dual credit, dual enrollment, and all of the post-secondary opportunities that Mr. Spurlock was talking about in the majority of our programs. And so right now we're in the application process of being a Tennessee Pathways. We already have it for 8 of them, and this year we are going to apply for 40. And so that's October 30th is when that deadline is, and so we are working on that right now to try to increase our numbers for that. So we are always looking at ways to, further and better prepare our students. So, thank you.
All right, goal number 5, looks like I stopped in the middle of it, but goal number 5 is Rutherford County Schools will maintain a level 5 in growth in grades 6 through 8 and 9 through 12 in growth in both ELA and math. Goal 6, Rutherford County Schools will engage stakeholders throughout our district through a series of virtual town hall meetings. During the meetings, we will provide timely information that concerns our district. Our goal is to inform, listen, and develop partnerships with our parents and community. Our first one, well, we've actually had one already, but the next one is September 30th, and it will be dedicated to all things distance learning.
Mr. Spurlock, if I may, could the board have a list of all of our CTE classes that we have currently?
Yeah.
Would that be?
She can get that to you. You want to get that to everyone tomorrow? Okay, good.
Oh, thank you.
I'd like to know that too.
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Brett?
Yeah, go 5, and I'll send this back to you, by the way. Rutherford County Schools will maintain a level 5 in growth in grades 6 through 8 and 9 through 11 in TVOS, in ELA, and math. And I've got others. I've printed off the wrong one.
Any other questions? All right, number 21.
Insurance update.
Yes, today Doug and I met with insurance, and they discussed that our annual enrollment will be at noon, starting on October the 12th and ending on November the 2nd, and they'll be sending us additional information through packets of the mail. They also talked about our 3 sites of Walter Hill, Stewart's Creek, and then the new one out on Salem, and the usage a lot at the new Salem site for our MedPoint Clinic. They're also open on Saturdays.
Any questions for Dr. Anthony? Number 22, Director's Update.
Several things. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Central Magnet School, was recognized exemplary high-performing schools in the National Blue Ribbon School for the 2020 by the 2020 school year by U.S. Secretary Betsy DeVos. So congratulations to Dr. Ash, his staff, his teachers, and his students for that designation. Let's give them a hand. All right, second thing, kind of going over some COVID information. I know Ms. Maxwell did a tremendous job, did a great job with the data, breaking it down, kind of going over the first sheet. I think I don't know if she had that or not, but you can get this on that website, and I can send it all to you if you want it. Primarily, it gives you a breakdown of Rutherford County as a whole on September the 23rd, just like she had gone over everything that she stated was exactly correct as far as the number of cases, average new cases over a 14-day period, the number of the positivity rate over that 7-day period, and things of that nature. Very good information because that is the roadmap that we'll be using as we look at things. And that second sheet that she got from the CDC, which she must have been reading my mind, but is another good piece of information. It kind of tells you exactly where we stand in terms of where we are currently as a county. So I think all those things are great. And then there was another form that I gave you, and you can read this on your own. It says, it's titled Additional Considerations for Use of Masks Among Grades K through 12. Now, I would also like to point out that I got a little bit personal with it in terms of our numbers in our schools, and we'll start first with student numbers. And if you look at that one, on August the 17th through August the 21st, we had a total of 38 students that were identified positive. All right, now that's not, and then you got to think about this now. That was over 27,000 people, the kids in our class, and we just started back. On August the 24th through the 28th, we had 30. That was an average of 6. If you do the math, that's an average of 6 a day. On August 31st through September the 4th, we had 19. That was average 3.8 a day. On September the 8th through September the 11th, we had 19. That's 4.75. That was a short week. And September the 14th through the 18th, we had 14 cases throughout the county, 3.5 average. And so far, we had a little bump on the radar here. On September 21st through the 25th, we still have a day to go. We had 26 cases. Now, I will tell you that the number of cases is not as impactful as the contact tracing. And we go by the guidelines set forth by the State Department of Health that we must do this. We cannot quarantine anyone. That's the information that the health department does. We do not have the authority to quarantine. But the health department tells us, and we tell them, and they can quarantine. I think our teachers and our principals are doing a great job. The 26 that we have currently, you can have a little flare-up in a community. And I'm not calling off the community for obvious reasons, but there's some communities that you do have a little flare-up, and we do see some upticks in terms of if it's a 3-day weekend. I know after Labor Day we saw a little uptick and so forth. But right now, I would say that this is looking pretty good. As far as the staff is concerned, once again, it's not so much about those that were actually had COVID or been positive. It's about the quarantines. You can see there from August the 23rd until to the 23rd, 22 cases certified, 9 cases for classified, and then of course you see the ones that had to quarantine due to contact tracing. All right, now so we are challenged in that area. Looking at today, in terms of what does it look like in Rutherford County today since September the 10th up to September the 24th, and this is in Rutherford County, everyone in Rutherford County. There was 880 cases. The number of positives over the last 14 days were 1,032. The number total negative over the last 14 days was 10,440. We've got a positivity rate as of today at 8.9. It's kind of bumped a little bit. We have currently 545 active cases throughout Rutherford County. That would give you a spread rate of 0.164%. That's good. What we need is that positive rate to get down to 5 or less. I think we can get it. I think some of the things that our teachers and our students are doing to maintain and mitigate the spread is fantastic. I will call your attention to, however, our high schools, for example, you take Oakland High School, I think they got approximately 900 kids perhaps that are doing distance learning. Is that correct? That's almost 50%, probably a little bit over 50% of your total enrollment. Is that correct? Yes. Maybe, I don't know. What about you, Ms. Blair? You got about 900 or? Yes, sir. Okay, and then I think Blackman's the same way. In our high schools, we tend to have a lot more students that are distance learning. And we want our kids back. I will tell you there was something released by Governor Lee yesterday pertaining to a learning deficit. Was anyone hear about that? You didn't hear about it? You heard about it. I know you heard about it. Let me say this. We, as directors of school, were not given any information prior to that being released. That data is historical data, and it doesn't include every system in the state of Tennessee. It's historical data that was used, whether it be the NAEP test or some of those tests, MAP tests and some of the tests, and that was used as to determination where the governor said that we, as a state, we're in a deficit, learning deficit. I think we'd all be remiss if we didn't say that we need kids in school, but I don't think that statement that was released is indicative of every school system in the state of Tennessee. We've had our own assessments, and I'll let Dr. Sullivan talk about that a little bit.
Because that was the first thing that Mr. Sprott called me, and we talked as soon as said, have we given an assessment to anybody? And we haven't given a statewide assessment of any time during this March to current. The best assessment we have is our Easy CBM, which is a skill-based assessment that we get for kindergarten through 8th grade in our high schoolers that are in intervention classes. And we jumped about 2%. So 2% of our kids fell backwards into a tier or an area that they were not in the year before. So if we were saying 40% of our kids were on grade level, about 2% of those in math and ELA across the district. Some schools had a little bit more, of 3 to 5, but we dropped 2% from where they started last year to where they started this year. So that was, you don't want to drop it off, but for as long as we were out of school, we were very optimistic about where our kids were and getting them back to where they need to be.
And like I said, I do believe that, and I think it was pointed out very clearly here tonight, that not everyone is made to do online school. I mean, it's just, they're not. They need to be in the classroom. However, we need to make sure that when they are in the classroom, that we have a safe environment that provides them with an opportunity to learn. The worst thing that I would like to see happen is we come back in great numbers, and guess what happens? We get a lot of cases, and we send them back out again. So I would like to see this positivity rate. I do think there is a roadmap for, and we know there is, of coming back in. I think as we go along, we continue to track this data, I think we should develop a plan to incrementally bring them back in. I think, quite frankly, I would like to start with the elementary. That's where I would like to start. Why do I say that? Because guess what? At that age group, they don't normally have the rate of new cases as the older kids do. All right. So I would like to see that happen. But I do think that positive rate. We know currently the spread rate's good. We know the infectious rate is below 1. We vacillate back and forth. 1 means, for those of you, that's called the R0 rate. That means for every 1 person that's infected, how many do they infect? Right now, we're below 1. If you can get that thing as low as possible, then you're going to do a great job in preventing the spread of the virus. We still can't forget, though, the masks do not prevent anyone from getting it, but you know what? It slows it down. It does mitigate it. I'm not standing here grandstanding. I'm just telling you what I know and what I've seen. Now, is there is in the future, not too distant future, is there a path of removing the mask? I sure do hope so. But right at this moment, I would be doing my staff, my principals, my teachers a disservice if I would just tell you, yes, we can take the mask off. I wouldn't be fair to the employees. So that's where I am.
Any questions? All right, we'll move on to number 23, TLN. Any updates there? Ms. Johnson?
I have nothing this evening.
And then 24, Federal, Ms. Sharp, do you have anything?
Just one thing, I think it kind of got looked over last month that Betsy DeVos, Secretary DeVos, suspended the payments for loans. They also suspended the interest on there until the end of the month. They also suspended any garnishments or anything like that related to any student loans. So there's still some discussion about loan forgiveness that's going on. I'm sure everybody's excited about that. I kind of feel like that they're going to do that at some point. But I did get to watch the summer study for the last Monday and Tuesday of this week, and it was very good. I'll try to send the link out for everyone because there's a whole lot of information in there that they had.
Thank you. 25, general discussion. Mr. Lee.
Yeah, Mr. Lee, I'm sorry.
Can't see me smile behind the mask. I need to address a few things that were brought up earlier tonight. First thing is the violations for Tan Oaks. When we met on September 3rd, I advised this board that we had some issues out there that when in a large event, that there had been some sediment that had left our site.
Make sure your microphone's working because I can hear you, but I'm not sure that it's picking up.
It is.
On
It
that.
is.
Okay.
And I advised the board that we had been in contact with TDEC and that we were in the process of working with them. On September the 9th, TDEC made its first visit to our site. We met with them for over 4 hours, discussed the situation, looked at a number of things. On September the 17th, we received their findings from their investigation. And it did have 4 items on there. With that notice, you are given 7 days in which to answer and 10 days to make all repairs. Today's the 7th day. We turned in our notice of answer this morning, and all items have been addressed. We have also requested a return visit from TDEC because there's some additional issues upstream from our site, which is the Tan Oaks property, that need to be looked at and taken into consideration for future events. Like I said, we just turned that in today. We're hoping to hear back from them. Mentioned earlier that Barge Coffin had reached out to Mr. Harris in late July that Rutherford County was at a critical time frame. That's a correct statement. It's no secret that it takes 12 to 14 months to build an elementary school, it takes 17 months to build a middle school, and it takes 2 years to build a high school. Well, that's July. If it takes 12 to 14 months, we are at a critical point of getting started to open in August. Typically, the contractor's end date's July 15th, which means in July 24th, they had already lost a month. So, yes, we were at a critical standpoint. The other thing that has been mentioned before this board and discussed in this board numerous times is what the hurry is for getting the Tan Oaks Elementary School built. We have 4 schools that this new school is going to alleviate overcrowding at. Rockville Elementary, Barfield, Christiana Elementary, and Buchanan Elementary. All of these schools have numerous portables with no space for additional portables, new subdivisions, and more children coming every day. This school is to alleviate the overcrowding of those 4 schools, and this board knows that. That was y'all's decision when we decided to go to Christiana and not go out to the Matthews property first. So I say all that to say we're working with TDEC. We did stumble. We received our notice of coverage on August 5th. The contractor started putting silt fence up on August the 8th. And then that's kind of where we are. They've made pretty good progress to this point. They were hoping to start excavation of foundations today, but I'd say the weather deterred them from doing that, so hopefully in the next day or two we'll get started. So I just wanted to answer those few questions, and if there's anything else from the board, I'll be glad to try and answer it.
Mr. Lee, thank you for that. And just for what it's worth, my conversation with Mr. Harris last night when he asked me that question as well, what's the hurry? I did absolutely talk about the overcrowding and the need for the reason of the need for the schools. Really shouldn't have been necessary, but I did. But I ran into someone today, one of our emergency responders, a fireman, while I was out at lunch today. And he mentioned to me, because he actually lives out in the Christiana area, that, and I'm sure you probably know this, but that he had heard that there is a new development planned out in the Buchanan Estates area that's going to bring in another 1,500 homes.
Yes, ma'am. That's been going back and forth at the county planning commission for the last 4 to 6 months. They've had 2 or 3 different incarnations of it. I do not know at this point if it is completely approved. They were having some discussion about what type of homes it was going to be and how they were going to do their roadways. That would be something that he would need to discuss that with Doug DeMossi and the guys at county planning. County planning does do a good job. They typically let us know when new things are coming, ask us if we have any input. Typically, my answer always is quit building. Give us some time to catch up. I mean, that's unrealistic. We know that that's going to continue. And then once it is approved, they send it back to us. I do not remember that one coming back as 100%, but I know that it's getting close.
It's really, yeah, my point with that too is it lends itself even more to the necessity of the schools, because I'm just curious, because I know we've got some statistics like with so many homes, how many children usually that as a rule will add to the schools. Do you know off the top of your head? Because I'd just be curious to know if there were indeed 1,500 new homes, statistically, what would we be looking at roughly as far as number of new students coming into the system?
For some reason, I was thinking 1.5. That's just
It's
automatically
1.4.
went to my
It's
head.
1.4.
Okay, per household?
Which is a good number, a roundup, but yes, typically 1.4 per home.
Okay, great. Thank you, gentlemen.
Ms. Moore, we have 37 portables at those 4 buildings.
Thank you.
Ms. Burlock, you will discuss.
Yeah, I'd also like to tell parents and teachers and staff, we'll be sending out a survey. I know there was one that Mrs. Maxwell did, but this will be for every parent, every student, every teacher, every staff member on the mass. Mr. Evans will be sending it out next week, right next Monday. And of course, it will be, there's a lot of things on there. You can control one vote for every, you might want to talk a little bit about that.
So we're going to survey employees internally through a Microsoft form, so we can ensure that it goes to all employees and that it doesn't get spread to people who are not employees. And then on Monday as well, we're going to be sending something to parents through email that will be in 3 different languages, which is our 3 primary languages that we serve are English, Spanish, and Arabic. So our ESL department is helping me translate that survey tomorrow, and then it'll be set to go through SurveyMonkey on Monday to employees' emails so that they can respond, and we can get those results back in as many days as we want to do. If we want to do it for 5 days or 2 days, and we're going to determine that window with Mr. Spurlock tomorrow.
Typically, how long do we survey?
I like to give them more than 1 day, but 5 is kind of my general rule of thumb, just to make sure that parents, we all get tons of emails, I'm sure, and I just want to give them all an opportunity to see the email and respond. But as soon as we shut it down, if you've ever used those programs before, you can get a report immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. All right, 25, general discussions.
Go ahead, Tiffany. Well, I brought this up last week, and this has been on my heart, and it's something that was really important during my campaign, is the fact that the voters and the parents, the teachers, the students, they want to be heard. And I did this survey because I wanted to hear, and I wanted to make sure I made the most informed decision. And I really feel like we should look at restoring the meetings and the work sessions, because even moving back the time to 6 o'clock, so most of the parents can get off work and can come here, and we can hear from the people, so we can make the most informed decisions. Not everybody feels comfortable emailing, and I'm glad I did the survey, but there's nothing like listening to someone with your own ears. And I just would like to see if we could look at restoring those work sessions and restoring those board meetings, because I think under this pandemic and this wonderful, understanding times that we're in, that we just really need, we need those restored.
Any other discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to follow up with Mr. Spurlock. I appreciate the information you provided on the data for COVID in our schools currently, but there is some unrest with our teachers and our parents, and I appreciate you addressing that. But more specifically, is it possible for us to commit to not revisiting this for the next 9 weeks? We've given our parents till the 28th of September to decide whether distance learning is for them or not. And the last thing we want to do is make a decision on masks at some point between here and there. And whether, I realize that with the numbers, we're not looking at that, but I would like to give them some peace of mind tonight that, and a commitment that we won't be looking at or making a recommendation to remove masks until a later date. So they'll have the next 9 weeks and make that decision for their kids. I don't know if I'm being clear, but is it possible to make those commitments or recommendations or?
Me personally, I'd say it's absolutely possible. That's what we would want to do. We would want to make sure that, because we are getting ready, and it's going to work both ways. We're going to get a lot that's going to come back in. I mean, I've fielded a lot of emails and calls. What if we're wanting to come back in, and they don't like distance learning, we want to come back in, and what if y'all take, the board votes for the mask from off? Will we be able to go back out? So I do think, I hear what you're saying. I do think that is, at a time where we probably need to, hold off on that. At the same time, still tracking the data.
Yes. Yes.
And the data's not just for to get the masks off. The data is also for encouraging kids to come back.
Agreed.
To us. And it touches on, number one, instruction. There are deficits. I'm not naive to think that. And quite frankly, some of the most at-risk kids are distance learning. And that's concerning.
I've heard from quite a bit of parents and even educators, and everybody's opinion is very valuable. I mean, I can understand both sides, but I think that the apprehension, I've spoken to many parents who their children are struggling in distance learning, and they're on the fence, they want to send them back, but it has been posed to me that I don't want to make this decision, and then in the October meetings, you guys make a decision to remove masks. And so I've asked for a roadmap, which has been provided tonight. So we have our benchmarks we need to meet. Maybe it's that 5% that you were talking about. But I would like to be able to give our families some security in knowing that they can make a good decision for their kids. Because at the same time, I think that although we may give our parents the ability to pull their children out, that's not good for our kids. They need that stability and that structure, and I think we need to minimize that as much as possible. So I appreciate you.
I hear the numbers are going up as well, that the kids are coming back to school.
Yes.
I visited a few schools this week, Buchanan, even at the elementary level, that the kids are coming back, which is very heartening. I was glad to hear that.
We dropped from we were at 21,000 and something, now we're at 19,400 and something.
We've dropped about 2,000 kids over the last month that have come back.
That is good.
I'd just like to say that I fully support what Ms. Johnson has put forth. We need to give our parents and our students, our teachers, some stability.
And if they know that this is put off until we can look at it closely, I think they would feel a lot better about what we're doing.
Any other discussion? We'll address, Ms. Maxwell, a little bit on your meetings. I agree, it's always better to have a work session. The reason our work sessions are cut back is because the times we're in, we want to try to do our due diligence and make sure we show our funding project. We're doing our best to get that on our decision.
Yeah,
As far as the time goes, we've always met at 5, because we have a lot of people stay over.
and I know that. I've had so many parents and so many teachers and so many people tell us, I wish you could do it just a little bit later. I know the county commission meets at 6 o'clock. And so it just made sense for, I know years and years ago, I think they met at 7, which that's way too late. But I just would like to see if we could possibly move it back to 6 o'clock, and just in transparency, just to make sure that the people know that we're making our decisions right here in front of you. And, we haven't already made up our minds, and that we're willing to listen to all the different viewpoints. And so that's why I've kind of been hammering this issue, because it's near and dear to me, because I really feel like that they need to see us and be as transparent as possible. And that's why I would like to see restoring the work sessions and moving the time. Maybe we could do that in the future.
Yeah, we'll definitely be monitoring that as we can.
Okay.
See needed, we can do something. All right.
Just a quick reminder for the orientation meeting on October 16th for the two new board members. And of course, anyone have you invited everyone?
I did.
Okay, well, good. Starts at 11 and ends at 4.
When's our next board meeting scheduled?
22nd.
22nd.
That's because fall break falls on the 5th through the 9th, so we didn't schedule one earlier than that. Normally there are 2, but October there's not because of fall break.
All right. Any other discussion? Hear any, we'll adjourn our meeting. Thank you.